Among all of the discussions I've seen about the Nintendo Switch's launch library, there is one game that I never see mentioned at all. It was a launch title, but it was a retail-only launch title, meaning there is no hint of it anywhere on the eShop. Skylanders. The new Skylanders game came out on the Nintendo Switch at launch. Nobody talks about it. I didn't even know it existed until I was actually searching Switch games on Amazon, and there it was. So, today we're going to talk about it. The new Skylanders game, and the Skylanders game that introduced Crash Bandicoot as a playable character. Here is my review of the Nintendo Switch version of Skylanders Imaginators. The plot of Imaginators takes place in Skylands, if you're unfamiliar with the series, a world once inhabited by an ancient civilization and is now inhabited by heroes known as Skylanders. These heroes come from many different worlds, such as Spyro the Dragon, from his own franchise, and a bunch of new characters. The story of Imaginators picks up when Spyro the Dragon and Stealth Elf are in the middle of a personal race around Skylands, when monsters appear and the infamous villain of the series, Chaos, shows up, having a new power known as Mind Magic he's using to create new villain minions. The plot takes off from there, with Spyro and Stealth Elf recruiting Sensei Master Skylanders to help them defeat him. Now the story is incredibly cute, and the voice acting really matches it. When I first heard Chaos have the same English dub voice as Zim from Invader Zim, I knew it was gonna be really nice. And it really fits that feel too. The game's story mode, it just feels like you're watching an animated cartoon, even though you're playing it. With gameplay, Skylanders Imaginators is a toys-to-life 3D action platforming game. Unlike Disney Infinity, it is not a huge open-world sandbox game. Now to play the game, you basically sync a character figure up, and you're able to use that character to go through the stages of the game. Now this is a toys-to-life game, which means that content is tied to physical figures. The starter pack comes with 2 senseis and a creation crystal you can use to create your own character, and any of these senseis can go through the entire story mode, so you don't need to buy anything extra outside of the starter pack to get through the story. There are 2 things we need to talk about this, especially with the Nintendo Switch version. First of all, portability is really emphasized in the Switch version of the game. When you're playing Skylanders on something like the PlayStation 4, you've got this huge portal you have to have a table for to be able to sync up and constantly use a figure as you're playing the game. On the Nintendo Switch, just scan your Skylander figure a few times on the Amiibo NFC reader under the right analog stick, and they will permanently be available through the game. So if you scan Crash Bandicoot 3 or 4 times, then you scan Golden Queen, you can immediately go back to playing as Crash Bandicoot without rescanning the figure. You don't need a portal, you almost don't even need the figures for very long. Now if you're a veteran of the series, there is one thing that's new in this game that's really emphasized. Character creation. The starter pack comes with a creation crystal that you can scan instead of a character figure. It lets you go in and create your own character based on any unlocked body part that you have unlocked as you play through the game's story mode. Head, torso, arms, legs, hair color, skin color, weapons, backpacks. There are so many armor sets that you can unlock to create these custom character from. Imagine it like the armor sets that you can collect in games like Skyrim, but instead of just armor, it's anything you can create a character from. And as I said earlier, this is a Toys to Life game, which means some of the content is locked to figures. There are a few special packs that came out with Skylanders Imaginators, notably the Crash Bandicoot set that comes with Crash Bandicoot and Neo Cortex. There are 3 worlds in the game that are locked to these special character packs. Only Crash Bandicoot or Neo Cortex can unlock the Crash Bandicoot stage, and there are 2 other stages that you would have to buy character packs for to be able to unlock. On top of that, there are optional dungeons across each character's element. So if you want to truly play 100% of this game, story mode and optional content, you have to have at least one figure, one sensei figure, meaning it has to be from the Skylanders Imaginators character set, of every element. Now in the starter pack, you get two elements. You get a water and you get an earth. If you buy the Crash Bandicoot set, you can add a life and a tech. That's 4. There are still a few other elements past that, so if you want to play all the optional content, spread it out and buy characters over time. Now when you're actually going through a stage, it's kind of like a Spyro or Crash game, to be perfectly honest. It's a 3D action platformer, so you roam around these 3D areas, fight off enemies, and solve light puzzles to basically open paths towards the boss fight. I could also compare it to the Lego games, except you don't make Lego figures. You just fight off enemies and then solve light puzzles. That's also one of the reasons I'm glad they added Crash Bandicoot, and that it's nice that they revived Spyro in the form of Skylanders, because from their own series, they just fit so well with this genre. Now, for completion and length. Don't expect this game to be overly long. I researched the past Skylanders games, and each game roughly takes about 9 or 10 hours to complete. It took me about 12 hours to beat the story of Imaginators. So if you're going off the starter pack and don't have much else, 10-12 hours. Maybe more around 10, because technically I did get the Crash Bandicoot set, and I spent a significant amount of time in the Crash Bandicoot level. But 10 to 12 hours, give or take. Now, the presentation. The graphics really depend on what mode you're in. When you're in docked and TV mode, the game looks fantastic, for the most part. If you get really close to your TV, you can see a little blurring here and there on the character models, but if you're not like dangerously close to the TV, it looks great. CG scenes look perfect, and the actual gameplay, it looks great and it plays great. Now if you go into handheld mode, well, it has Snake Pass syndrome. If you remember Snake Pass from the Nintendo Switch, in handheld mode it looked really, really blurry. Now a lot of people blame this on it being a too low resolution in handheld mode. Now I personally cannot really vouch for that because I don't know what that looks like. I don't have any experience with it. But what I do know is that in handheld mode, Skylanders Imaginators looks about as blurry as Snake Pass did. Maybe a little less blurry, but blurry all the same. You can tell a difference if you take it out of the dock and start playing in handheld mode. I mean, it's not bad. The frame rate's still perfect, but you know what I'm getting at. It doesn't look as good as in TV mode. Now let's talk about battery life. This is a 3D launch title for the Nintendo Switch, so I wasn't sure if I should expect Zelda-like battery life or something better. But here's what I got, from 100% to 0%. With maximum brightness and the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 7 minutes. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 15 minutes. Lowest brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 28 minutes. And lowest brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 45 minutes. This is really weird. In almost all other games that I've recorded battery life for, there is a significant difference between max brightness with no Wi-Fi and low brightness with the Wi-Fi. In here it's only 13 minutes. This is surprising. Granted, 3 to 4 hours isn't terrible, but it's not great either. Now, in conclusion, Skylanders Imaginators is definitely a fun action platformer, whether you have a Skylanders collection or you're completely new to the series like I am. Granted, 12 hours of gameplay hardly justifies chucking out $40 to $60 just for the starter pack, and the visuals are pretty blurry in handheld mode. But if you're a fan of Toys to Life games, or you're just wanting another way to play as Crash Bandicoot outside of the PS4's remake trilogy, it's definitely worth a look. Reviews to Go rates Skylanders Imaginators an 8 out of 10. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, or visit my website at www.reviewstogo.com.